question regarding Mayhem, and it's obviously a gigantic advertising campaign. So let's say Sarah is at home and sees a Mayhem commercial. I'm assuming it's an 800 number. Does it get directed to you? Are you able to ever get leads from that kind of campaign?
No, Mother Allstate, she takes that all for herself.
Why Mother?
So
I just, my first Allstate boss used to refer to Allstate as Mother Allstate.
This is phenomenal.
It's like Big Brother, but instead of Big Brother, Mother.
That always stuck with me.
Is there like a shrine somewhere in an office with Mother Allstate and what she looks like?
I mean, she
hopefully not like Mayhem.
Yeah.
He's the greatest.
He was in Orlando last year. We had an Allstate conference, and he was there taking pictures with everybody.
Is he as fun in person?
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine. Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. Join us as we chat, sip, banter, and wine with the best in the biz. Grab a glass of your favorite vino, sit back, relax, and let's wine together.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. We've got a special guest for you today. But first, let me start with the introductions. We've got Miss Sarah Birnbaum, my cohort to my left. I'm Emmanuel St. Germain, your host today. And we've got Zack Lansat from Lansat Liability Insurance. He's a stud. He's a friend. He's a fellow member of Impact 100, which is a charity that we're both a part of. Zack, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Welcome, Zack. I just got to say your hair looks great today.
Well, I wake up like this.
Yeah, for those of you, if you're listening and not watching, Zack happens to be blessed with this plush hair that I am sure he gets lots of requests at the bars for to have his hand or have their hands run through your hair, huh?
Yeah, I get that, and also like that people think I dye my hair, which is not
really
true.
Just very thick.
This is very thick.
And you've got that great wave comb over thing going, like the how I used to do my bangs in the 80s.
It's the blow dryer.
Yes.
Oh, that's cute. You guys have something in common. You both blow dry your hair.
That's listen.
Awesome. All right. Well, enough of the fun stuff, but no, really, let's talk about, let's get into a little bit about the insurance. So you own an insurance agency. Mm-hmm. We were talking off air. It is an Allstate agency, but you're able to do other things.
Sure.
So talk a little bit about the structure of your company, what it is, how it works.
Sure. So back in 2020, I decided to put my entrepreneur hat on, get out of corporate America. I was working for like a big insurance company at the time, and to give this a shot. Many years ago, I worked for an Allstate agent right out of college. And so basically, the way our setup is, I bought someone's agency. So I bought a book of business, and from there, I was able to take over all the policies, and from there, I've been able to grow the business for homeowners insurance, commercial insurance. So we kind of focus mostly on personal lines. Allstate is one of the carriers we work with. But in Florida, there's been obviously a lot of challenges with the homeowners market, with carriers coming in and coming out. But they give us access to about 20 companies to work with. But in our market, where we are, with our listeners in the Tri-County area, it's more limited than most of the state of Florida.
We're nationally syndicated, just so you know.
Okay. So Florida's a whole different beast. But yeah, so it gives us a good opportunity. We can offer more than just one solution. When people come to this and they're looking to get a homeowner's policy and whatnot. Has
it always been that way, or did Allstate make adjustments because of market conditions?
For sure. Over time, I mean, for years ago, it was like you were an Allstate agent, you just sold Allstate, right? They just wanted you.
Because prior to you coming in today, I literally thought all you sold was Allstate.
Same.
Right. So, and really about 2/3 of my business is non-Allstate. I mean, they definitely want you selling Allstate, right? You're there, and you got to, Mother Allstate wants you hitting goals and all that stuff. So there's a lot of that we have to work with. But over time, the market just changed so much in Florida. And Allstate stopped writing homeowners, and a lot of the big national carriers stopped doing that as well. So fortunately for me, more so than any other market in the country, all the Allstate agents nationally kind of look at Florida like, you guys are so unique because you really, a big part of your business are the expanded markets, are the outside carriers. So they give us a pretty good access. That we don't get everybody, but for the most part, we get most of the carriers that.
You're more like a traditional broker in that sense.
Yeah, on the homeowner side. On the auto side, it's mostly Allstate.
Gotcha.
So we don't have access to like Progressive or Geico or Nationwide or Traveler. So they're there, but we kind of have our box. Like on the auto side, we definitely have like where we want to be competitive or really competitive, and then the other areas we're not. So we just try to focus on
Smart. Stick to what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, let's go to, all right, so that very cool stuff. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
All right, so 2020, we became an entrepreneur. And then I heard straight coming out of college, you started at working for an Allstate agent and then worked for corporate insurance. But your whole career has been in insurance.
Yeah, exactly. I've been in like the insurance financial services umbrella.
Okay. What's the end goal? Do we want to stay and grow as an entrepreneur? Do you like the entrepreneurial aspect, or are you more interested in corporate?
Yeah, I mean, since I got into this, I actually have invested in a couple of startups. You kind of start to think differently when you start to like, okay, I'm going to be a small business owner, put my entrepreneur hat on, and so I think I'm definitely going to stay in this lane.
Okay.
And in the next 5 years, either continue to grow the agency and either get into some other businesses. I think ultimately I'll stay in this business, but I think I'll expand in some other areas.
I found that the entrepreneurial life can be a really great one, and then at the same token can be very stressful, right? So like for us, our company that we work for, essentially, we opened our doors in June of 22 under this new banner, under our ownership, my business partner and I. And since that month, June of 22, we've been in a housing recession. So we didn't cause it, but we certainly have had to live through it.
Sure. And
what I can tell you is it's very different being an entrepreneur under a recession than it is being an entrepreneur when, you're just absolutely crushing it. So the question was raised to me a while back, and that's why I was asking, in terms of how you feel, if I were to go back, would I want to still, be an entrepreneur? And is it something that, or because there's a lot less pressure. So like in my world, I could go be a branch manager of any company I wanted to and make lots of money without having to worry about overhead and everybody's
P&L,
bills
all that,
and yes, making sure that you're profitable as a company. That's not what you care about when you're a branch manager. You just care about yourself. So I was curious about the insurance world, how it works, and if you can unfold a little bit of that. Obviously, the profitability on different products. I don't know, anything you can educate us on that you think is interesting and why you got into the entrepreneurial aspect of it.
Yeah, so those are some great questions. So, from like product standpoint, in the last I would say 5 years, we know insurance has gotten like really expensive. One, reinsurance costs, especially in the state of Florida. So if even you're basically paying a premium to reinsure in case there's a storm.
Define real quick what reinsurance is for
yeah,
Sarah.
Sure. So
For Sarah.
Reinsurance is essentially like I'm Allstate, right? And I'm going to pay another insurance company a premium, regardless if there's a cat storm, right? A catastrophic storm, right? Mm-hmm. Which would be like a hurricane. That in the event that there's this catastrophic storm, that reinsurer is going to be paying the claims on that storm. Okay. Now, if there's no storm for that season, I still pay the reinsurance money, right? And so the reinsurance basically
they're betting.
They're betting. Yeah,
they're hedged. They're hedging that there's no storm or you're
right. Exactly. So because at the end of the day, Allstate, State Farm, Hurricane Ian 2 years ago, that was $150 billion. No insurance company in America has $150 billion sitting in their general account.
Good to know.
Right? Maybe Apple. Okay,
right.
Like insurance companies don't typically have that money, or that money cannot be used to pay claims. It's got to be used to pay like life insurance proceeds, disability proceeds, like different things, right? But so at the end of the day, and claims. But at the end of the day, like you have to take that risk and put it on someone else. One storm can wipe your company out, And you have a lot of companies in Florida that are only based in Florida too, right? So they're not even they're a tenth of the size of like an Allstate or Nationwide. So reinsurance has really driven the price of a lot of these products that we write today. But insurance companies now have gotten a lot more flexible with underwriting the last couple of years. So that's since they passed a lot of legislation a few years ago, which makes it a lot harder to sue the insurance company, file claims that really you shouldn't file for. And it's, in my mind, they really swung the pendulum pretty much from the consumer to the insurance company. So it's not all good because, again, even though I work for an insurance company, I mean, at the end of the day, you pay for an insurance policy. If something happens, you feel like you want to get paid on that claim. The problem was so many people are taking advantage of the system.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what really drove a lot of the pricing up. A lot of these roof claims in Florida, where your roof only had to be 20% damaged to get a new roof. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, right? Yeah. Now they upped it to 40 or 45. So at least like they've made some changes. Lawyers could get up to 4 times their hourly rate, meaning that like if you had a claim on your home and you said there's $30,000 of damage here, and Allstate came back and said no, it's more like $15,000, and then you sued Allstate, and the judge decided that you were entitled to $1 more than what Allstate was willing to settle for, and the judge says, let's meet in the middle, $20,000. The law firm who was representing you could charge up to 4 times their hourly rate. So there were like $500,000 legal fees and $50,000 lawsuits.
That's insanity.
Right.
So this just got like way out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
Really quickly, and like you times that by, tens of thousands of homeowners. Unfortunately, that happened a lot in the Tri-County area. Shocker. Right. So that had a huge impact on why our markets are some of the most expensive in the country right now. But I do think like less storms, less lawsuits, more carriers are going to come into Florida. They're going to kind of pick their spots where they want to go in and be like really competitive in. Because if you want to pick up market share, well, you can't be higher than what everybody else is paying. Right. So there's that. So I do think we're going to see some, more relief, more flexibility. It's just, knock on wood, we're not going to see a lot more.
It's fake wood.
So my bad. Yeah, I almost knocked it over. We're not going to see. We're gonna get into a better, and we're honestly starting to see that. We're starting to see rates go down at renewals, which is good. We're starting to see companies offer more coverage, different options, which is good, and it's good for the consumer. But again, now more than ever, people are still continuing to shop, try to bundle, see what else is out there. So those are some things that are happening on the insurance side. And then you had a question around entrepreneurship, right? Was that?
Yeah, but you gave me so much stuff, so we'll go back to the entrepreneurial stuff.
You actually didn't answer the entrepreneurial question.
In terms of whether I would go back?
Correct. You said June 22 is when we opened our doors as Choice Mortgage Group, and somebody asked you, yes, obviously it was a housing recession, not the easiest time to be an entrepreneur, have your own company.
I would not go back. So the owner of a mortgage company, the way it works is we lose the greatest amount of money to make sure that your mouths are fed and everybody that works for us mouths are fed. So we take our money last. So we lose money when times are bad, but we also make the greatest amount of money when times are good. So
you're happy with your decision?
I'll tell you when times are good whether I'm happy. But I wouldn't do it any other way because for me, what I love is learning the craft of becoming a CEO and getting better and better. Yeah. The entrepreneurial part is like, that's fine, but running a company is running a company. In my opinion, like once you know how to do something, it doesn't matter what your product is. We all sell products, sell services, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's more just of, ultimately, really, it's who you surround yourself. The people you surround yourself, having a great team is really how you get to that next level because it allows you to stay like, one of the things I'm blessed to have is we've got amazing people. So it allows me to focus on the things that I want to focus on, not have to fix and clean up Sarah's mess all the time. Like she's good at what she does, No, meaning like if Sarah wasn't a Sarah and Sarah was a Barbara and we constantly had to clean up after Barbara, it would be a pain in the butt, right? But no, Sarah's able to tackle a project. She kicks butt with it. Great. So I don't have to babysit that project. I'm focusing on where we're going afterwards. So anyways, to answer that. But back to what 100%. I wanted to ask you, Zach, was you mentioned a couple things in there, and I thought one of them, which was a really, really interesting point, was about insurance companies having enough money. Now, one of the things that I don't think people really think about, and I don't know the answer, which is why I want to ask it, is that typically I feel that most people in today's economy are going to go with more than likely the lowest quote, not necessarily who the carrier is, right? But how does that work from the insurance? Is it possible that a carrier doesn't pay out claims or doesn't, my house gets under fire and because I went with cheap quote A as opposed to the Allstate quote or whatever you were offering me type thing, is there a possibility that my house doesn't get rebuilt and my claim doesn't go through? How does that process work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, there's you definitely in Florida, you want to have your insurance with a company that is part of like the state of Florida's guarantor, has a rating through Florida.
Talk about the rating piece.
Yeah, so the rating piece is that Florida because at the end of the day, like Lloyd's of London, right? They can sell insurance in Florida, but in America, right? They're a London-based insurance company. At the end of the day, there's only so much contractual obligation the state of Florida would have to do with that company. Now, companies can go into receivership, which happens. A lot of times, insurance companies will take over those policies, and the state of Florida will work some sort of deal out to make sure that there's no solvency issues, and they'll find someone to come in.
So is that nationally yes, we're talking about Florida, but if we're in Iowa and we have a tornado and for some reason the insurance company goes defunct and isn't able to pay it, someone is coming, Lloyd's of London, someone is coming in to buy that.
That's how it's traditionally worked.
Okay.
Now that you have this, every state has their own insurance commissioner. So there's a national Florida association, but every state is different. Every state has different laws. And so I think it's important to, we always say like price is only an issue in the absence of value. I mean, we're always competing on price, right? Mortgages, right?
Of course.
Realtors and commissions and listings. I mean, everything comes down to that.
They're about to.
Right, they're about to big time. Yeah, so with us, we just try to be the subject matter expert, right? Like we just want to be they're like a trusted advisor. Like, here's the challenges and obstacles if you decide to go with policy A versus us, because it happens a lot. They're like, well, you guys are $500 more. We're like, well, we structured a homeowner's policy to cover a home that's worth $1 million. Agent B over there just wanted to maybe cut corners a little bit and presented what we wouldn't insure for our own family member. So sometimes people, it used to be kind of an oh, by the way when they got their homeowner's premium because it wasn't that much, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago relative to what premiums are today, right? It's a lot more. People are paying a lot more attention. So we try to, customize policies to fit customers' needs without jeopardizing the value of the policy. But it definitely is something that again, that's where it goes back to when you have a big brand, Allstate behind you, they do a ton of marketing. They've been around for 100 years. A lot of the insurance companies we work with now in Florida, not everyone's heard of. I mean, it just depends how long, someone's been a homeowner for, Tower Hills, the Florida Penns, the Edisons. There's companies that have been around for, Tower Hill's been around for 50 years. So they've been one of the longest lasting insurance companies around. Great company to work with. And so, but you do have carriers that are new to market, and they'll come in with a really good price, and then a few years later, and that's just the market. So people will do that; they'll shop around, but rarely will you be in a situation where you go to file a claim, that company goes insolvent, and then you're not getting. You're usually what happens is it's someone doesn't have a proper insurance policy.
But we should feel in general, assuming we got a decent policy, safe that the claim will get paid.
They're rated. I mean, all the carriers, especially a lot of the platforms that we have to go through, all the companies have to get vetted.
Right.
They have to be A-rated. The financials have to be there. The stability. They have to be part of the, Florida insurance guarantor. So they go through a lot of,
regulations. Somehow, so bottom line is that we are protected.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Are you considered a franchise owner?
Yes.
Is that how it works? And then do you have a territory? Meaning that, let's say, am I allowed to go buy an Allstate franchise and park it right next to you, or no? Like, how does that work?
They say you got to be like a mile apart.
Okay.
Oh, wow, that's it.
But, at the end of the day, honestly, I always say, like, if another Allstate agent or another independent agent or whatever, State Farm is like, if I think they're my competition, I should probably go do something else.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there.
Right.
And a lot of agents now, it used to be a much more client-facing business where you had, like, an Allstate agency or your State Farm or independent, whatever, in a shopping center or, kind of brick and mortar, and people came in and got quotes. And I mean, everything's changed. 20 years ago, you went into a realtor's office to go buy a home, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now you just go on your phone and you look at homes.
Right.
So everything is like at everybody's fingertips. So you can be remote. I mean, there's agents that have a small office and they have 15 employees all over the place. I mean, they're all remote, So I particularly have built my business doing a lot more client facing.
Yeah.
A lot more, working with
Because of the
realtors.
hair. I mean, that
helps.
It's a natural
You got to get
selling
out of the
point
house
for
and
you.
show off that hair.
Right.
Do you have a team?
I do. I have 5 people on my team.
Okay. And so they're
What do they do? Break that down.
processing the insurance, or they're actually selling? Like, are they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I have a service manager, handles a majority of our service that comes in. And then I have 3 salespeople. And then I have another, person who does service too. So I have 2 service people, 3 salespeople, and a office manager. So there's 6. So there's 7 of us total.
Very nice.
I can't count today.
And so did you build that? Did you see like the structure that you currently have? Did you copy that from someone? Did you just innovate it on your own? Like, how'd you get to that?
Honestly, like, success leaves clues, right? So when I got into this, like, I try to align myself with other agents, and you just take a little bit of what makes them successful. And I thought, for me, it seemed if I can get someone who can be an office manager to really help me run the office, and then kind of silo sales and service. So my sales people can focus primarily on sales, and my service people can primarily focus on service. Again, they both go intertwined.
Of course.
Like in all of our industries, right? So, and it just kind of, and every agent's different. There are agencies I know. I mean, I'm friends with guys throughout the country that have a dozen, 15, 20, run a big operation like yourself.
Very
and
cool.
It's just all about what you want to, how you want to run structure it and whatnot. And so, yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. I mean, I'd like to grow. I mean, my competitive in me, I always want to be at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, there's guys in my market that have been doing it 15 years, and they have 12, 15 agents. So it's hard to compete with that, like, manpower. Just like in the lending business, you got lenders that have 50 loan officers, 60 loan officers. It's like,
it's hard.
But you know what? It's always I always say, if you can have do them less with more, then everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a smaller team, but everybody's producing at a much more quality, higher rate. And then it's culture, right? Like, as much as I'm the boss of them, they're the boss of me. I can spend my afternoon hanging out with you lovely people. Doing a podcast.
Kind of how it is here.
Yeah.
Boss.
Yeah, exactly. So just trying to get better.
They really say that, by the way, that the ultimate you've ultimately achieved in entrepreneurial when your team tells you what to do, where you can get everyone else to tell you what to do. We're still trying to build up to that. We've got certain departments that are lagging, but we'll see. No, just kidding. All right. So, question regarding Mayhem, and it's obviously a gigantic advertising campaign. So let's say Sarah is at home and sees a Mayhem commercial. I'm assuming it's an 800 number. Does it get directed to you? Are you able to ever get leads from that kind of campaign?
No, Mother Allstate, she takes that all for herself.
Why Mother?
So
I just, my first Allstate boss used to refer to Allstate as Mother Allstate.
This is phenomenal.
it's like Big Brother, but instead of Big Brother, Mother.
That always stuck with
Is there
me.
like a shrine somewhere in an office with Mother
There should
Allstate and
be.
what she looks like?
I mean, she
Hopefully not like Mayhem.
Yeah.
He's the greatest.
He was in Orlando last year. We had an Allstate conference, and he was there taking pictures with everybody.
Is he as fun in person?
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I want to segue a little bit because while insurance is really amazing and sexy and interesting, I think there's other things in your life that you've got going on. So you mentioned that you've been in insurance literally since you came out of college. So you probably haven't done much else in the work world, but there's two things that you guys have in common, and it's the 100 Men 100?
Impact 100.
Impact 100. Yeah. And then both of you happen to be madly crazy in love with something other than lending and insurance. Zack, I feel like we should talk about the love of your life.
Alfie.
Yes.
Alfie's, I mean, you know what? And everyone loves my dog.
Yeah.
It's
like Boo Boo for him.
I feel your pain.
It's like everyone. I mean, I got a
How
list
old
of.
is she? What is she?
Yeah, so Alfie's a 30-pound mini golden doodle. So she's 50% poodle, 50% golden retriever.
Okay. And you take her to a lot of places because I've seen her out and about before.
Yeah, I do. Not not as much recently. It's in the summer it gets so hot out.
Is she quote unquote a service dog?
Funny you should ask. She's I'm getting her to be a service dog because I was flying to Asheville for July 4th, and I was going on Allegiant Airline, and the Department of Transportation, I fill out whatever. I think I get approved to bring her on the plane, and long and behold, when they're about to close the door, they're like, "Sorry, sir, we just realized that she's not a
Service dog,
and you have to get off the plane."
What?
So I bought one of those cards, like that you get for $100 or whatever. It has Boo Boo's picture. It says it looks all official. I do need to get like the official looking, like red jacket, whatever you want to call it. But
Boo Boo's slightly bigger than 30 pounds, though.
Boo Boo's 76 pounds.
Yeah, she
with
is.
service dog, you don't even like. You don't need, if there's a service dog, they don't need a crate, anything. You can just bring them on the plane.
I've been on a plane with a service peacock before.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you can do whatever you want. But for the other passengers, it's not exactly the most pleasant.
The first time I would do it, so I fly JetBlue. Anytime you want to sponsor the show, JetBlue, just let us know. But I tend to fly JetBlue more than anything up to Boston. Mm-hmm. And I would like to fly with someone, and then I would probably buy all 3 seats. That way, exactly. At least the first time. I feel like the first time trying to fly by myself and her, she's
because she's so behaved.
You've got to go.
She's very well behaved, and especially because in that environment, she would be a little nervous too.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be like. Alfie was a little nervous. I was people on the plane were literally gonna give up their seats for her. They're like, no, she can sit next to me. She can they were just everyone.
She is pretty cute.
Yeah,
but. Definitely department. We'll talk offline, but don't make my mistake. Is what I'm getting at. So, but there's a will, there's a way to get your dog on a plane.
So did you have to basically you just left and came back? Or?
Yeah, I came back 6 hours later.
Yeah, you didn't just throw her in an Uber hey, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. No,
I didn't do that. No,
I know,
I did that once. My mom got really mad at me.
Yeah, it's the last time I flew, so segue about flying, I was flying to Dominican for a wedding, and I am blessed. I'm Mosaic, and so with JetBlue, I can show up, I valet, I hop in, I literally get through the line in 3 seconds. So in Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, the airports are pretty fast. And what I didn't remember or realize was that when you fly international, you have to show up a little earlier.
Oh, wow.
So we show up and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. We have bags. They're like, yeah, no. There's no way you're getting that bag on. I'm like, uh-oh. But the beauty of, at least we were able to cancel the tickets right away and you get them back. And we got on a different airline. But it's... flying right now is, was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago? Everything in Atlanta, was it absolute
when the internet
nightmare.
shut down.
The internet shut down.
PBI had a ton of canceled flights that morning.
Oh, yeah.
Friday morning. Absolutely.
I had a friend that was traveling, and she was stuck for 3 days. And she was just stuck at Milwaukee or something, and she was just
We do have the best airport.
And which one?
PBI.
PBI is.
PBI
but they
is
don't have enough. They don't have enough. It's 1,000% the best because it's so small, so easy. Yeah. they just don't have enough flights. So like Boston, I literally fly out of Fort Lauderdale just because there's so many more options. But Fort Lauderdale I don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years I feel like it's doubled.
It has.
It is mad. It's a madhouse down there.
Yeah, and
Traffic.
valeting is a great way to go.
Yeah,
LA is literally like, not to sound like it's the only way to go because
it's not as posh as you think. It's only an
I
extra
get
$10 per
lost in
day
the
or
parking
something
lot
like
with
that.
the lines that you have to follow, the different color lines, and it ends up taking me to a different terminal, and then I forget if I'm in Palm or Bay or there's 5 different parking garage. It's just
And then you add like your kids and stuff, and like you get lost in that parking lot garage.
I don't always have an extra person to watch my dog while I'm flying. Sometimes it's just me and 2 kids.
No, I get it. The flying is. Do you get scared of flying?
I don't.
Have you ever been in a helicopter?
I've not been on a helicopter.
I haven't either. Have you ever done a helicopter?
Yes, I've
Was
been
it
in a
scary?
couple small planes.
So I did the helicopter ride. I was in Hawaii, and it like flew over the cliffs, and we did like a whole tour. I was fine.
I've never been to Hawaii.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I've been 3 times.
It's on my bucket list. See, we got to get married.
I also enjoy vacation
Then we
much
can do
more
the
than you
honeymoon
do.
there, Emmanuel. That's.
Is that where you would do your honeymoon? And you'd want to go to?
I mean, maybe, yeah, because I've never been. I've been to Europe
So
a bunch.
it's a long flight. We live in South Florida where there's a really
It's 12
pretty
hours.
beach. So it's pretty.
I know it's. I've heard that it's super long to get there. It's pretty, and I know it's very expensive.
If you lived in Ohio, I would say sure.
Yeah.
I don't. It's 12 hours. It's a long flight to get out there.
I don't know that I would do it that way. I think I would go like 6 hours, hang out in LA or like San Francisco, Napa area, hang there for 2 to 3 days, then go
You
to
could
Hawaii
do like
for 5 days. then come back.
Vegas to Hawaii. That makes more sense than San Fran. And
Yeah, especially if you go to Vegas first. Nothing like having that kind of fun, and being on a plane for another 7 hours.
Speaking of flights, and we can just kind of segue out of this, the one time that he and I flew for a work trip, I forgot he was TSA, and I booked the tickets for the way home. And he got onto the TSA pre-check line, and they were like, "Your ticket is not TSA pre-check. You need to go wait with
I
the
just
normal
went through
people."
my assume
You had to wait with all the other
Yes,
peasants?
he did.
common folks.
Common
Wow.
folk. So he joined my line, but he was way beyond my line where I was. I was already at the front because I went to where I was.
So
What was you just used the line in House of Dragons too when they were just talking about
Common folk?
No, it wasn't common folk. It's a different word, and it was a perfect segue to use it right there. And I can't think of it. They were basically talking about people who aren't supposed to be able to be riding on dragons. Anyways, I'll think of it.
great show, by the way.
Yes,
I haven't seen any
I
of them.
hated the finale. Did you watch it?
I was
Wait, don't tell me. I haven't seen any
very
of them.
underwhelmed.
Oh, underwhelmed.
I've never watched Game of Thrones.
it
It's
was
on my list.
awful. Game of
Really?
Thrones. We're talking
Okay.
about House of Dragons.
Well,
But aren't they?
Before.
Yeah. Game of Thrones is.
After House of Dragons, so you can watch House of Dragons. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool.
During COVID, I met this girl, and she was like, yeah, for 8 days, right? The world shut down, right? And she was remote, and she goes, well, she watched the entire Game of Thrones in 8 days.
Wow.
I was like, that's dedication.
She does not have kids.
There's like 8 seasons, right?
Yeah, like 10 hours a day. I was like,
Yeah,
that's all
she
you did for
definitely
like,
doesn't have
I was like,
kids.
that's impressive. Like even if you did like 10 days, like it's still ridiculous. It took me 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I waited till like the last season, and I was
So
like,
then you
okay.
could just binge it as much as you wanted.
It's so funny. My mom came to Christmas one year, and so we were hanging here in Florida. And I think it was like my first or second year since my grandmother had passed. And before my grandmother had passed, I would always fly to Montreal for Christmas. And so we were watching, like, I don't know. I put a show on. I put Game of Thrones on, and she was like, "Oh, this is good. Let's watch it again. Let's watch another episode." Next thing you know, we're like 4 episodes later. I'm like, time to go to bed.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
you
yeah.
get into it. It's easy to like get hooked. It's such especially season 1 of Game of Thrones. Like that's an unbelievable season.
Great
It's on
season.
my list.
Yes. All right. Back to work. Back to insurance.
This is what he's good at.
Tell us.
Ending the fun.
Ooh, good one. She rarely has one-liners. That was a good one.
Aww.
Yes. No. Great job, Sarah. All right. So back to insurance. Where's the insurance world going? Where do you see it going in the next 6 months?
Yeah, really, really good question. Yeah, I mean, I touched on it like earlier. we're starting to see relief, number one. So I think one is like, people's premiums are starting to like really level off. Like the sticker shocker of like, my service team was just getting like punched in the face every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like my premiums up. I mean, I was literally having weekly meetings about how to talk people off the ledge, how to talk my team off the ledge, like
giving them some morale.
Oh yeah,
love.
Hey, like love, bonuses, like don't quit on me, like
I'm bringing lunch in, you guys.
Right? I mean, all that stuff, right? And because it was like, people are mad. They're like, why is my premium going up 50%? Like I haven't filed a claim, and we want to say, like, have you watched the news? Like
right,
or you can't, right? So like that's been really nice. Like those days. Again, I can't speak for every carrier, but a lot of the carriers have really leveled off their increases, right? Unless obviously someone's had claims and things like that. That's a different ball game. So that's one. So we're starting to see some relief there. Two, you are starting to see more carriers come to market.
Yeah, we've been seeing that. I've had a couple clients show up with quotes. I'm like,
Loggerhead,
what company is this?
Orange this.
Kin
Insurance. So you're starting to see some new carriers come to market.
From Loggerhead?
Loggerhead.
A lager.
Loggerhead.
That sounds like a beer.
Yeah, I know. They're pretty good actually. They're so.
Do you have access to all of the new ones that come in? Is that
so? A few of them we have, and a few of them we haven't.
Okay.
So it really just depends because again, Mother Allstate. She
right.
goes. She looks at they look at the carriers. They decide like, is this
something we want to work with?
Because what's happened in the past, they've gotten burned in years where like a new company comes to market. They're like, okay, let's get the selling agreement, and then they leave in 2 years, or they just leave like a pile of shit.
Got it.
And it's and the agents always want like the newest and shiniest and the best pricing. We all want that, but at the end of the day, they're like, guys, like, and I get that too. Okay, fair. So there's some good news there.
Yeah.
And then also I think when it comes to claims, insurance companies have to be a lot more I wouldn't say aggressive, but they need to be a lot more efficient when it comes to coming out to the home, getting the adjuster out there and making sure that like these things just don't go on for like weeks or months,
right?
So they've really kind of gotten their arms around, because again, it is like it can be like the wild west with the public adjuster, with the attorney, with the insurance company, and so they've really put some things in place that I think will benefit the consumer when they do have a claim and whatnot. That it's going to be addressed. It's going to be addressed right away. There's not like this like for example, it used to have 21 days to come out and like see somebody. Like that's kind of ridiculous. Like you've got a water claim or you've got like fire damage, like it's the insurance company need to be out there like ASAP.
Yeah, of course.
So those I think three areas where we're going to see some positive, and I get the question I always get is, are insurance premiums coming down? Well, it's like, real estate, is that coming down a lot? Like
our rates coming down. It's the same thing.
I mean over time, like I think that when you buy newer homes and you're not on the water, like, of course, there are going to be more insurance companies that want to take on risks like that. There are a lot of beautiful homes in East Boca that were built 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
You just don't have a lot of insurance company lining up going like, that's a home I want to insure.
Right.
With double taps, and
that wood frame.
That wood frame. That sounds like a really good risk.
And that really high canal in the back.
Right. So, over time, as newer construction and things like that, I mean, it's like you're gonna get better deals. It just all depends on like where you live and the type of home you have and whatnot.
And what's important to you, I guess.
Yeah. But we always focus a lot on liability. We always say it's really important. And no one ever. I always say this. Everyone on my team uses this tagline. When people call in for a claim, they never go, "I hope I have the really inexpensive, cheap insurance."
No, they're like, "Please have my back."
Yeah, like I hope I have this high, liability policy or whatever the case may be, their limits, their coverages and whatnot.
So let's talk about that. Let's picture, we're looking at a HO3, so a homeowner's policy. There are things like a dwelling coverage. There's going to be personal content. There's going to be liability. Yep. When you're advise Sarah, for her home, what should she have? What shouldn't she have? Like, how does that process look like?
Definitely. So, I think it's more of a science versus an art when you're when you're quoting someone's home.
This is a test because I'm going to send you mine and you're going to find me a better quote.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do
with value.
Definitely. I'll do my best. So the way that we have it set up in the insurance world, we use what's called a replacement cost estimator. So we go in and kind of like in your world, like you fill out someone's information and it gives you all the data as far as like what type of rates they can get, right? Like you just can't plug in a rate and go, here you go, sir.
Right.
You know, this is what we can get you. It's kind of like with us, right? So there's some guardrails in place depending on if it's like builder grade, custom, full custom, on the water. And it really comes down to, I always start with like square footage. But the 30,000 view approach is like, you know, we look on Zillow, we look at the inspection, we kind of see what type of home they have, right? Because not every home's different. You know, you can have the same home on the street, but one home might have, you know, $100,000, you know, in upgrades, and the other home might just be more basic. Well, the basic home doesn't probably need as much insurance, right? So it all comes down to, we talk about square footage. And so when I talk to people in construction and people in the contract world, like what's it cost to build a home? You know, not on the water, you know, what's that square footage? Because the air in Boca just costs more than the air in Boynton Beach, right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, like
Breathing premium air.
you know, like when people say, well, you know, when we start to go through numbers, and I use that, we always use that as an example because like I'm not insuring your home for more money in Boca. The square footage, it still costs about the same to rebuild a home. Again, for the
Price
most
per
part.
square foot.
Yeah, so you talk like $250 and up. That's kind of where we'll start with. I mean, on the low end and the low twos. I mean, you get into the ones that's just like that's not realistic,
Right.
right? But again, you know, some people, if they're on a budget, or we try to get them the best policy they can for what they can afford. One area that we've really looked at when it comes to homeowners policies, the personal property, going from replacement cost to actual cash value. So most folks feel like, look, insure my home, right? I got $1 million home. Like, I want to make sure that, like, God forbid something happens, like I can rebuild my home, right? But when it comes to like their furniture, and again, I'm not talking about watches or like expensive rugs.
I was going to go there. Shoes, bags.
That's all lined item
jewelry.
out. Like your homeowner's policy, God forbid, you know, you guys went on vacation, you came back and you had a bad flood and all your shoes were ruined and your purses, like anything over like $1,000, the insurance company's gonna be like, you know, that's not, you know, we're not buying you a new Louis Vuitton bag. You'd have to get that insured, right?
Got it.
So
You do? That doesn't, I didn't realize that.
well, there are limits depending on
per item?
per like clothes,
Like
jewelry,
Well,
you know.
Okay, well, now let's go over this because I think this is really important. So I had always been told what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take your phone, a camera, whatever it is, and you go around your house. And so you can see, yes, that was an 85-inch TV, or yes, look at this. Like now, watches, I understand, like that type of, like jewelry, you should have, well, first of all, they
Its
tell
own
you should have
policy.
its separate policy.
Definitely.
So that way you're not, you know, if you lose a watch, it's not affecting your
Stolen out of your safe.
whatever
Right.
it is. But my so I thought personal property was what we were covering. So let's say if you say I want $100,000 in personal property, that is bags, shoes, everything.
It is up to a limit per like that
I just didn't
category
know that piece. Got
category of item.
So
like if you have a
$10,000 bag.
$10,000 Birkin, you're screwed.
you need to have that
A
insured.
separate insurance
Separately.
policy
That's
for
right.
the Birkin. Got
Yeah.
it. Understood.
You know, exactly. You know, your Tory Burch purse, we got you
good.
covered.
You're good.
Got it.
We got you covered. You know, so that's where we'll have conversations with clients around like, look, if you do have some higher end, but you know, the limits are, you know, they're not 5,000, but they're not $500. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, just depending on what it is. You know, there's silverware, there's appliances, there's your TVs, you know,
Couches,
your
are
couches.
expensive.
Yeah, couches. No, couches we're going to replace.
It gets expensive.
You have 100,000. No, the couches and anything that flips upside. You take your home, you flip it upside down. Anything that just falls out, you know, that's all part of your contents.
Does Alfie scratch your couch the way Boo Boo scratches mine?
No,
Very
not
well
so
behaved,
much.
Boo Boo.
Yeah, she's 30 pounds versus.
She just goes scratch. She
75
scratches.
to
I don't know
80.
why she scratches, and then she lays right next to it. Like, I don't know. It's got to be.
She's
it's
creating her
something-
safe space.
Yeah, I guess so.
What I was going to say is what we recommend. I mean, we're always like recommending, but we want to give people a couple options and say, here's a couple options, and here's what would make sense for you. And then they can decide what they want to do. And one option is instead of replacement cost on your personal property, meaning that if there's a fire, all your Tory Burch, your furniture, that all goes in blaze, we're going to replace that. We're going to get you brand new everything, right? We're not going.
Or we'll hand you a check.
And you can go get it. Right, exactly. Now, if you go with actual cash value, we're going to go, well, this isn't exactly worth what you paid for it 5 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's about a 20% discount. So on a $5,000 a year premium, you're looking at paying around $4,000. A lot of people are like, I'll do that.
Screw it, yeah.
I'll do that. I'll save.
I'll take the loss.
Yeah, I'll save $100 in my escrow and my mortgage every month or whatever, and all that, and I'll lessen the blow with my insurance premium. Now, years ago, it was like nobody cared. Everybody's like, yeah, give me as much coverage as you want. My premium's $1,000 a year.
Right.
And it was kind of, oh, by the way,
You
now,
up it by $250, who cares?
Yeah, now it's like, because with personal property, if you have $1 million dwelling, you theoretically can get up to $500,000 of contents. Most people don't have $500,000 in their, I mean, well, I would say this, like, yes, maybe jewelry, like things like that. But as far as just like your
Louis Vuittons have gone up.
No, they have. So you can lower that up to as much as 10. Like some carriers let you go to like as 10% of that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know I'm getting nerdy into the weeds, but the point is like these are like the things that we look at every day to try to what we can do to get premiums down.
Question regarding renewals. So not picking on the Lansat liability group, but just in general, do people naturally when a renewal comes up, is a broker or a carrier looking to see that's the best, or is that on the consumer, on me? Let's say if you were my agent to say, hey, Zack, do we have the best? Or, do you naturally shop every year? Or is it on set it and forget it until I come to you and say, hey, can you check to see if it's the best? And I don't mean you personally in your company, just as a general rule.
I think generally agents, and in a moment I'll tell you how we do it, but most agents, unless someone reaches out and says, like, can you get me a better deal? Most agents aren't shopping.
Okay. Set it
for the
and
most
forget.
part. Exactly. Because at that point, it can be, especially in this environment, like depending on your situation, there might not be a better option right now. I mean, if you have Citizens, it might just be Citizens, right?
Right.
But people are at more consumers in the last 12 months have shopped insurance than like in decades.
Well, that's because they've gone up so much.
Exactly.
They feel it.
Right.
Like, well, let me at least shop to make sure that I have to pay this much.
Yeah, and we call on our renewals. So all of our homeowners renewals, they get a phone call, email, and text along with the insurance company sending them out a letter. So we just want to remind them if it's escrowed, direct bill, because people forget, people get busy, especially there's been a lot of changes like insurance companies taking over insurance company B, insurance company A is going to insurance company C. And so people are like, oh, what's this slide? I don't know what this is. And they just throw it out.
Right.
I think
they forgot the conversation or the email they got from me 6 months ago. So it's like,
you got to stay on top of it. I think in general, I mean, we see it in our industry too. I don't think I've ever been shopped as much as I have, this year. And not just me personally. Like, I think we all, when things are more expensive, people
They pay attention more.
It's not about paying attention like they weren't paying attention before. I feel like the relationship had greater value when it's more affordable. As things get more and more expensive, the value of the relationship to your average consumer is not as important.
Correct.
And they're going, and so which is going to lead me to my next question. How many people, because I know that the way that typically my clients, like, or at least loan officers, our brains work. Give us the cheapest quote for the client. Then you can call the client afterwards. And then now you can have your conversation and, like, I don't want to say upsell, but like add your products, make sure that they have the right coverages, all that stuff. But for the purposes of a mortgage, our brain goes, just give us the cheapest possible. We're thinking from like a debt to income standpoint, not value.
And we get in those conversations where it's like, hey, can you get it? We need to get it down, and we'll get it down. To get a deal done, it's all about, especially working with lenders and people in the real estate world. I'm very like focused on like getting the ball over the goal line. So like whatever I need to do to make sure that my part of the deal is not holding anything up. But
can you change something 2 weeks after it's bound?
That happens all the time.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Or is it once it's bound, the policy's bound, we can't do anything until renewal?
No, we can make changes to a certain degree. I mean, however, what most insurance companies do now is they're sending out inspectors. Okay, right? They're double checking my work, your work. Saying, okay, like, let's make sure that like this insurance policy fits the needs of this consumer. And so they're sending out drones, they're sending out individuals, and most of them are exterior inspections, or just the outside, exterior, excuse me. But yeah, they're coming back sometimes and saying, and that's why we don't try to we push the envelope, but we don't want to underprice because we know what's going to happen.
Right.
They're going to come out and go, this isn't a $300,000 dwelling. You know,
Right.
this is a $500,000 home, and you're trying to put 300. Like, come on, guys. You know, and then the client, it's a little. They get annoyed because they're like, why'd my premium go up? But we always.
Wouldn't you just use whatever the actual cash for the replacement cost estimator?
Yeah, but you can mess with that a little bit. Like, you can go, okay, this is like, maybe it's a builder grade home, and we put it's like basic.
Gotcha.
And that brings it down.
So the replacement
play with
cost
their
estimator.
margins.
Yeah.
Well, no, yes, but what I'm hearing is that the replacement cost estimator isn't just a number. There are inputs that you are using in order to change what that comes back at.
3-bedroom, is it wood floor? Is it marble, granite? Is it
Gotcha.
an upgraded kitchen? Is there a pool? Like the doors, like all. I mean, those we get that from the inspection report and the pictures.
Got it.
So we try to like do our best to align with that. But yeah, we always listen. There's wiggle room and whatnot. It's just now more than ever, like. These inspectors come, and it doesn't happen to us that often. But again, they're just making sure that the people who inspected the home did it right, the insurance agent did it right, and that's kind of where.
Mother Allstate is watching. You better be
I was just
careful.
thinking about Mother Allstate. I was just going to
And
say,
Mayhem.
does Mother Allstate, do they audit you? Do you have to pass is there you mentioned something about quotas. Is there anything that you have to?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you
they-
have to meet a
have
certain
numbers.
standard. I mean, I think
Definitely.
that's good. Listen, if someone's carrying my name, my brand name, I'd want to make sure that they're adhering to certain.
They do. I mean, in Florida, we're limited because we don't have access to all the Allstate products, but primarily auto. I mean, they're very. I mean, we've got numbers.
What? Tell me what are we not
Numbers
being
man
offered?
wants more numbers.
Well, no. I just don't like not being able to be offered something.
Oh, he
If
wants
I
to know what he's
can't
missing
have it,
out
I
on.
want it even more.
And he wants to know which state he can find it in so he can go buy property in that state and then have all of the offerings.
No, but what are things that we're not able to get?
Primarily the home products.
Okay.
Primarily the home products we're not in. And the majority.
And that's because everybody went to do lawsuits and cheat us out of our system.
And it's just, I think some of the bigger national carriers have just always had a hard time figuring out how to make it work in Florida. They come in for a few years and they come out.
They're like, get me out of here.
Yeah, Allstate came in
here.
2019 and 2020, early 2020 with a home product. And if you could walk and chew gum at the same time, we would insure your home.
Yes.
What do you
mean by a home product? Are you talking about an HO3?
HO3, HO6, condo and home. And we were and I started about a year later, so I kind of got the tail end of it. I was like, oh, this is great.
Sound
we're
like hotcakes.
We're 50% of everybody else. This is I'm offering a lot of value, guys. And literally about a year into it, they're like, okay, COVID,
Enough.
the lawsuits. They're like, wait, this isn't working out so good.
Profitability is not going to be quite exact.
So every month I see all these home policies that I wrote just getting non-renewed. And but that's just the game. You kind of look at it I got it. It's just, it's just timing is everything sometimes. Their timing wasn't really good.
Right.
So.
Well, before we wrap up, anything else you want to ask Zack real quick?
I know that you've done insurance your entire life, but when you were 10, 12, did you want to do insurance or was there a dream job that you had?
I wanted to be Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
I wanted to be a sports agent.
Show you the money.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what
And then you got
wanted
to
do.
college and you're like, sports, insurance is the way to go.
I wasn't going to go to law
you're an
school.
avid golfer, aren't you?
Yeah, so golf.
He's a big
is-
golfer.
Golf.
Got it.
Yep. Yeah, so big golfer. Went to Florida State. Big Dolphins fan. So
My bar is an accredited Florida
I know.
State bar.
I saw that. I
Yes.
saw.
Why is
I got
that?
an email.
We're also a Gator bar.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we listen. It's just like politics. Money's in the green. Doesn't
Oh,
matter what
wow.
side you're on.
How's Bounce doing, by the way?
We're doing pretty well.
Every time I drive by there, you guys are busy.
Yeah, it's the weekends. I mean, listen, I don't go late night on Fridays and Saturdays. That's a little bit younger crowd than I am.
That's
but
when I'm there.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Sarah
Yeah.
trying to relive her youth, but
No, I'm just a lot
for
younger
the
than
rest
you.
of us, I'm more of a happy hour guy. So.
Yeah, and being in bed by
You should come
11
out.
sounds.
You can bring Alfie because he brings Boo Boo, and you guys
we,
can be the
we're
two
doing,
guys.
We have a charity at the end of this month, August 30th. I think we're doing a big dog thing I'll send you the invite for it. All right, let's wrap it up. Zack, please let everyone know how to get a hold of you if they'd like to talk insurance, whether they're in the real estate game or whether they're a consumer that's interested. How can they get a hold of you?
Definitely. You can go right to our website, lansatliabilityinsurance.com. You can call me at 561-227-7641, or you can email me at zlansat@allstate.com.
Or look for you around Boca for that hair and just walk right up to you and ask you any question they want.
That's right. And I'm most likely I'll be with Alfie. So just look for the mini golden doodle. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on
here. Okay, that's enough whining for one day. We are so happy that you could join us today on Stop Whining About Real Estate. So please, not only listen, but subscribe, follow us, download, share, and if you're feeling it, give us a 5-star review. Hey, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email stopwhining@choicemortgage.com. Thanks so much.